Welcome to How to Survive the Holidays here. Holiday season is upon us, which means, yes, food, lots of it. I don't know about you or where you're located in the world, but I am in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And guess what? It is cold. And the only way you get through the cold is if there's food and there's drinking. So we want to be able to enjoy these things. We want to be able to have fun. You don't want to be a bah humbug because what else are you going to do in the winter? This is a reason to get together, to enjoy some drinks and food, enjoy family, and we can do it well, and we can enjoy the holidays being healthy, being mindful of these things. And that's what I want to provide you today. I don't want you to think super stressful about it. I want you to think about all this worrying about the weight gain. We will have context as to how we can make this benefit us, and we can just overall enjoy it. So I'm going to dive in today with some tips and tricks that I think will change this. It's very important that we know that there are problems. It's winter, you're less active. There's no beaches, so you're not accountable, not really wanting to take that extra thick double layer of sweater off. And I know the feeling. I feel like wearing sweaters this time of year because the midsection a little softer. Holiday dinners, drinking, appetizers, the calories that really don't count, but they do count, and they come at you really quick. Holiday food is so tasty. And sometimes it's not even that tasty, which I find really interesting. It's just festive, right? We just literally think about what some of these holiday cookies are. It is just in the shape of a candy cane or a snowman. You put icing on it and you say, "Oh, well, it's a Christmas cookie. Why don't we eat these the rest of the year? It's a holiday cookie. We got to try it. It's a holiday cookie, but we know that they're not good the rest of the year. But for some reason, we get really festive. That's actually an important mindset that I'm going to talk about later on. But it's also rude not to. We get into these cultural things. Hey, would you like to try one of my cookies I made? Like you got to try just one, so it becomes very difficult. It's so stressful too. We got this person to shop for, that person. I hate my in-laws. Anything that you want to add in there, it is stressful because X, and I want to eat or I want to drink. So, we got to take these into context. And we also know days feel shorter, less daylight. That'll affect your mood swings, your energy levels, whether you want to train or, you know, put in that extra effort for the meal prep. And it's not just one dinner, it's many, it's leftovers. And we're going to talk about that. And there's kind of this awkward time right between, it's really what we call the holidays, is anywhere from Christmas all the way to New Year's. I know in the United States, they consider it all of December because Thanksgiving is, that much earlier. But we kind of feel inclined to relax. It's the weekend of the year, right? When it comes to your nutritional plan, anyways. And so we want to not make it stressful, but let's give you some really good tidbits here. We're going to talk about how planning is the first step to success of anything. You don't plan, you plan to fail. Then there's a concept of having, accountability. Some sort of accountability sounds terrifying, but it's not really. It's just like having a concept of counting, keeping track of something. And then a supportive environment is really important. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about day of event plans that are going to really help you with controlling your appetite. We're going to talk about social culture. We're going to talk about stress levels and how that plays a factor. We're going to talk about training volume and how that can benefit you. And we're going to talk about recovery mindset. These are all going to play a huge factor, and it's going to help you a lot. So let's dive into how we can get you on the right track. Planning. What are you trying to accomplish in the next 4 weeks? You want to do a deficit? You want to lose body fat? You want to just maintain? You're actually trying to gain some size? The likelihood with social events is super important to know. Most people actually gain a lot of their weight. Seen in a study that a lot of people gain most of their weight from December, and then they just don't lose it the rest of the year. And it could be like, no, it's 4 to 8 kilos, which is somewhere around 8 to 12 pounds or 8 to 16 pounds, and you just don't lose it the rest of the year. So it's really actually interesting to know. We just get more inclined to not be accountable this time of year, and then that costs us the rest of the year. So not gaining weight is a huge success. That should be actually a real major focus here. A deficit during the holidays is fairly unlikely, but consider the average over the course of 2 to 4 weeks. Maybe it's like, you've already started, mid or early December, and you just want to kind of hold accountability well over the holidays. and then into the new year. So let's talk about this deficit goal because it's super ambitious. Now, if you have a bodybuilding show or maybe you got a holiday that really matters to you, I understand someone's inclination. It's a brave thing to do. You can still do this and enjoy the dinners, but there's things that you got to be really aware of to commit to. We can do this. We want to do this without causing a binge or risking that, right? Because when you're trying to be in a deficit, prolonged deficit, it messes with your head, it messes with your ability to control your mood and all that stuff. So, depending on when you're watching this, is hopefully it's gotten to you soon enough, but you want to be thinking this 2 weeks prior to your Christmas dinner. You want to go in with a solid deficit. Most of your deficits already happened, and for sure during the week. And then certainly, you're planning a deficit through most of the week of Christmas, but then you actually kind of come out of it. And we're going to explain how that maintenance day prior to Christmas is super important. Don't go into Christmas dinner without having at least one refeed or slightly more calories the day prior, because you're going to be starved. And if you're going to plan on eating at that Christmas dinner, not just bringing your own food, actually, so I should start with this. The best way to do this is to bring your own food, eat the same food, bring a scale, and do all the stuff that you normally do. There's the best chance of success. Is that how you do it healthy and enjoy it? No, absolutely not. So if you're going to eat the food there, it's going to be hard to track. Everyone's going to have the same problem. Hard to track, low satiety, meaning you're not going to feel full, and it's going to be hard to withdraw from stopping to eat, right? So we're going to have some, what we call metabolic recovery. 1 to 2 days prior to the event, you start increasing your calories again, because you almost enter into the maintenance so that your body's not depleted from muscle glycogen, sugars, and you feel less deprived going into it. So then you're going to feel inclined to control your appetite better. Now, even if you're maintaining, this is still a good approach. And this is where I think most people should want to be. Just maintain. Let's just get in and get out, get our good stuff, and we're going to actually be able to enjoy. And there's still going to be ebbs and flows, as I like to call it, not a yo-yo, but ebbs and flows of the calories, so that you can get into a good routine. Maintenance should be the goal. It's a really good idea. 2 ways that you can do it is to aim, for maintenance throughout the whole week, or aim for the average. And I'm going to show you the average concept, because we want to, basically have lower calories during the week, but we come up nice and steadily. And then that way you can actually enjoy more food during the actual event. So let's look at the week here. Now, this is more in context of the maintenance. Now, if you were doing the deficit, say for weeks leading up to it, you probably aren't going to eat too much, but I recommend anyone use this plan, just how aggressive you go into your deficit. Okay. So deficit meaning, calories to help you burn calories. So let's say my calorie maintenance was 2,700. My aggressive calorie deficit would be closer to about 1,900. Okay. That'd be a solid aggressive deficit. And then I would do that for about 4 or 5 days. Now, if I was going to say I want to lose body fat over the holidays, or on average, looking at the average of the whole month here, I probably wouldn't have had much of a maintenance refeed or anything on the weekend. I would have probably just kept the deficit going. I would go deficit all the way up to the 23rd or 22nd, and then I would come out of it nice and steadily. So I'll go, around that 1,900, 2,000 calories all the way up to the 22nd. So at least 2 weeks. And then 2,200 calories right around the 22nd, around 24, 26, maybe even 2,700 calories to get a full maintenance day in. Then on Christmas Eve, and then on Christmas Day, that 26 should be 25. But on Christmas Day, I should actually aim for that maintenance calories. And that way, that average is going to be far more probable that it's a deficit. Now, this setup here that you're actually seeing is more inclined to the maintenance. So I aim for 2,000 calories is exactly what I'm doing. This is what I recommend most of my clients do. 2,000 calories during the week. So that's a slightly lower than a normal deficit for me, just slightly. A normal, good, sustainable deficit would be around 22 to 2,300. That put me in around a 400 to 500 calorie deficit, and I could do that for a long period of time. It's not too strenuous. 2,100, 2,000 is a little bit more strenuous, but I do it at the start of the week when I just came off of a refeed day for about 2 days. And then I start to bring my calories up to about 21, 2,200, 2,300, 24, 2,500 on Friday. Then I'm doing maintenance days for 2 weeks. Now I get into this rhythm because this year is just so perfect that we get this rhythm. We get to actually have like Christmas and New Year's on the weekend. Like this is great because this means that we can follow the exact same rhythm throughout the week. As previous years, we would have had to had it where it was like midweek and it just didn't help us. So that's the evolution I recommend most people do. So why do I keep talking about this calorie maintenance or like, coming out of your calories right before is because there's metabolic adaptation. So let's say you did a couple of weeks of, solid deficit, your body can actually slow you down. Plus there's also just like cravings, you're going to refeed the system. It calms the system. You're going to have better workouts. You're going to repair better, replenish your glycogen stores, which is essentially sugar in the muscle. And when you're going into the danger zone, which is the Christmas dinners, high palatability, meaning it tastes damn good. Low satiety, it will not leave you full until like way later when you feel bloated and stuffed. And there's a high quantity of food. And if you're deprived going into the weekend, going into your events at this state, a whole bunch of willpower is required. Okay. So practice the appropriate amount of food when you actually have a maintenance day on the weekends, even weekend prior to Christmas. This is what I'm saying. We get that rhythm. You go back to this calendar here. I encourage all my clients weeks leading up, let's practice maintenance on the weekend. That green is not necessarily surplus. I want them to actually practice maintenance. They know the right amount of food and they know what it feels like. You get used to that rhythm. Now let's talk about accountability, support, and environment. So accountability support just means like go into this not alone. Like my clients have me, my clients, have me to support them. And so I'm talking to them about, hey, so this should be our goal. This is what we're going to try to do. And then you're going to update me and let me know how it goes. Now, all you need to do is tell someone, like physically just tell someone. If you're the only one watching you, it's going to be hard for you to actually know, like, to not lie to yourself, to keep yourself accountable. Ask a friend, ask a member from your gym or something like that. Tell someone your plan. Tell you have a partner. Hey, babe, I'm actually planning on really trying to control what I eat. So I want you to know this is my plan. You physically telling them, they're not, hopefully they're supportive enough to not say, oh, you didn't do this. Hopefully they're just there to share it with you. Right. And maybe they say, you know what, babe, I actually really like that you're doing that. I'm going to try to do something similar. And just tell them what your effective plan is. Have a plan of, I'm only going to have so many treats. I'm only going to have 3 cookies. I'm going to have 5 appetizers. I'm going to enjoy my meal. I'm not going to go for seconds. And I'm going to have 3 drinks. Like just that alone, you'll probably hit 1,000 calories and you'll actually feel great walking out of it. But you have to tell someone. So have that accountability support system and environment. Know what you're going into. What will you be most tempted with? Okay. If you actually think about that ahead of time, it will make you more prepared for it. Imagine that food. I'm not kidding you. Athletes do this. Athletes, and I know I'm comparing to something far end extreme, but it works. Like athletes literally do mental training to know their opponent if they're in the ring or on the ice. They visualize having to make passes, having to anticipate plays, and they're better ready for those cues. So why don't you visually imagine, okay, I really like this type of cookie. It's going to be hard to say no to more than one. So I'm going to have one and then going to say okay, no to the second. I'm going to visualize me saying no and being successful with it. It's amazing how that will actually work because you would have had experience prior to the actual experience. And so really, if you have to say no to having a drink, visualize saying no to drink when your father-in-law or your dad offers you a drink. Okay, no, I got to say no to that drink. I got to be prepared for saying that because if you don't, you're going to have a harder time saying it in that event. And be prepared to just even say no when someone says, "Are you sure?" Because if you're not sure, they're gonna challenge that negotiation in your head. You make your decision now and you own it and you handle that discomfort. And over time, you get used to those reps and it becomes who you are. Okay, now day of events. Let's strategize for you. This stuff will help you. Starve, but leave. Don't starve, but leave room. Okay, I don't want you to starve because we're going into this. I recommended windowed eating, like kind of intermittent fasting style, but you could also just do 2 very high protein meals. So you could eat first thing, very high protein, eggs. Like if you have eggs, have a bunch of egg whites in it, and then have your lunch, have like very lean protein and veggies. Just keep it very high protein and just satisfying enough. Or you window eat and you aim for about 40% of your calories in that meal right around lunch. And it could be just that much. Have a solid meal so you feel satiated. and mostly proteins, protein leverage. So you're having 50% of your protein or more within the first couple meals. And then the day right before or on the way to the event, this is a huge thing. Great little simple hack is protein shake. I'm not kidding you. This will make a huge difference. You have one protein shake on the way to the event. You're drinking it. You're going to go to that event. You already have protein in you. Protein shakes won't give you satiety inherently immediately, other than the water fullness. But after, once you start having some appies and stuff like that, the probability is that much higher that you would feel satiated. Not to mention, you're going into probably a lower protein environment. There are some appetizers that have protein, but they usually have protein and fat, or it's fats and carbs. It's all the good stuff, right? And we're still going to encourage you to have that on the dinner, but just hedges your bet that you're going to have the right amount of protein that you need. On appetizers, try to fill up on veggies. Like, everyone else is eating, and you're going to think, okay, these are the ones that I want to try, but I still want to eat when everyone else is eating. Fill up on the veggies, have the carrot sticks, and just don't hesitate to eat veggies. Just be careful how much you're dipping it in the ranch and whatnot. But again, I'm far more concerned about how many extra pigs with a blanket that you're having than anything else. How many, the charcuterie boards, like, as much as that is meat, that's just meat and fat. It's predominantly fat in a lot of those charcuterie boards. So have that consideration still. During the dinner, have a minimum of 30% of your plate with a protein source. I would go to 40, 50, like, just especially if it's like turkey or ham. Some hams can actually be quite lean. Have a lot of protein, have a lot of, salad, whatever you can to fill, give you that fullness first. And then honestly, like, a lot of those low density whole foods, like the salads and veggies and even fruit. But focusing, actually, I encourage you to not restrict yourself from anything that you actually want to try to eat. That is something I generally do encourage. So it's not that you need to have a giant thing of mashed potatoes. Have a bit of mashed potatoes. Have a little bit of the Texas potatoes. Have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and just have a bit of the other stuff, but a ton of the good stuff, so that you feel like you're getting full and satiated from it. So mindful eating, like, this is super important. Mindful eating is really just paying attention to what you do when you're eating, and to try to eat it slow. Try to really value the experience. What you're trying to do is, why do we want food? Okay, why do we want this type of food? It is not because we're low on energy. We have tons of energy, especially if we have excess body fat. We actually just want to experience it. Now, if you just eat it fast and, like, oh, I want to eat this, want to eat that, ironically, not only are you not giving its due for every individual bite, because you're just eating it fast and mindlessly, that's mindless eating, you're also going to get to a point where you're eating it so much that you hate the food, and now you hate the experience. So if you can eat the right amount of food, just go nice and steady, you're going to get that right feeling of fullness. And every single bite, seek out what you're getting from that every single bite. And then sometimes take breaks, put your fork down, and be in the environment and talk to your loved ones, and to be there present, then come back to the food. So one of the things I recommend too is try everything that you want to at least once, but really try your best to think if you need it twice. And one of the best thought processes that helps me is this bite going to be different than the last? Like, is it going to still be novel? Because, I'll go back to the charcuterie board, like a good example. They're quite popular this year. You want to try out a cheese and a piece of meat. Okay, that's great. Now, if you have that again, is it going to be as novel and as good of an experience? Or are you going to get to a point where it's like, this actually doesn't heighten my flavor sensors anymore? It's not any different. So I don't really need to do it again. Maybe you just have that one and you try another one, try something else different later. You want to try things you normally don't. That's what it's about, to really get the experience from food. So always hesitate if you need the second one, and ask yourself, how will I feel after? Will I feel awkwardly full? Will it feel like more satisfying, or will it feel kind of like a waste of calories? So really have that idea, and then outsmart the scarcity mindset. This is, when there's just, let's say you've had the two bites, you've tried a bunch of foods. This is both at the appetizer setting, and this is at the dinner setting, this is at the dessert setting. There's always excess food. There is, right? You as an animal will want to think that if there's excess food, I should eat it. This is actually, to me, a very animalistic instinct for a lot of us. And maybe even just growing up, you're told to finish your plate of food. That's something that also plays into people's psychology. But the big one to me is if you have a hard time holding body fat off, you have a hard time with your appetite, it's just because you're used to yo-yo dieting and you're used to scarcity of like, oh, I'm not allowed these foods and now I am. Now it's like, oh, I gotta eat. Like I get to eat this. I should eat this, and like because I won't get it again. And this is a outsmart it. Okay. Very simple thing is ask yourself, could I have this food any other time of the year? Like really think about that. Could I have like with you not on a diet or on a diet or off a diet? Like you can physically buy this food any time of the year. You can get whatever dish you want any time of the year if you truly needed it or wanted it. Could be next weekend, weekend after, it could be Wednesday, it could be Tuesday. You got to understand that your concept of scarcity gets manifested. It gets built up because, oh, we're waiting for this one dinner and now it's this one thing and this is the only time of year. So we get in this scarcity mindset, not to mention the scarcity of food and all that stuff that can play on us. But you got to be honest, you got to actually outsmart that and realize, no, this is actually just made up. I can have that cookie or that appetizer or that any time of the year if I truly wanted it. I'm just thinking I want it. So outsmart it and also think I could have it later if I really needed it. So I could take some leftovers home. And if I really need it, the fullness is going to hit you way after, right? It's not going to hit you until way too much. So you want to hit yourself at like a 80% fullness. Drinking some water will actually help throughout it, not binging on water, but just the right amount. And you're going to always feel like way fuller later. But the best thing that's always pulled me out when you're about to, like, let's say it's dessert or near the end of dinner, just think, okay, I plan on having a protein shake before bed. Like, honestly, tell yourself that. Just really make sure you enjoy your protein shake because that's going to be imperative because it should taste like a dessert. There's so many good protein shakes now. And then you can say, okay, well, I can still a protein shake when I get home if I'm truly still hungry. And 90% chance when you leave that, if you're able to pull out from that, then that fullness is going to hit you about a half hour to an hour later. And you'll be like, I don't even need that protein shake. Or you bring leftovers home, have a little snack at home. But I'd encourage a protein shake is that would still balance out the calories, right? We're going to try to have around, again, 40-50% of your calories in the morning. Then you have 1,000 calories that you can play with at that dinner. And then a little protein shake, another 100 calories. The odds are you're going to be in a maintenance there. Social culture is very important. Consider what to prepare for. Who's around you? What foods, should you eat? Like, because they're going to be like, hey, don't you want to try my XYZ? You have cultural food you got to consider. Is your family going to have a hard time if you want to bring a food scale and you want to eat your own chicken, right? So you got to prepare for these decisions. Prepare to say no for the right people. Cultural foods are so important to enjoy. And that's why I'm saying try a little bit of everything and you won't have these questions as much, right? With accountability. Enjoy things with accounting in some context. And simply consider smaller portions when you want to have these sort of foods. You don't have to track necessarily in an app. You could do some research ahead of time. But my biggest thing is just honestly do calorie assumptions. Consider some foods that are a little lighter. Around a lighter density food would be 100 calories for every cup of serving, and things that have sugars and fats could be 200 to 300 calories per cup. And you could even just use your palm or something like that for roughly what a cup is. But the main thing is just have a track. You know what I mean? It's like I lost track of how many appetizers I had. That's a bad sign. If you think you had about 5, that's a good sign. If we're talking about veggies, I'm saying that that's actually something we don't got to track as much. But try to have a concept of calorie assumptions. Stress level. Are you stressed? Work, life, family, training, and nutrition, right? There's a lot of things. Make your plan so it can de-stress you. I'm hoping to give you these strategies so you can take it and run. You're not overthinking this stuff too much. Just to be calorie aware is what I'm really going for. Diet and training are good stresses, but it can overload the system. So, we want to make sure that we're not overloading because all overloaded stress, all overloading stresses are bad for you, right? So we want to make sure we're balancing this out. Well, let's talk about training volume because this is actually the great silver lining. Even if you overconsume your calories, you could actually be getting better recovery, and it's not so much working it off, but building it up rather. And this is the main thing. Strength training, more specifically, if you're in a higher calorie environment with your body, and it's a benefit to have more calories because you're going to build. Now, a full on bulk takes a long time. Like building muscle takes months. But at a minimum, if you're just, oh, you know, I'm going to be in a 100-calorie state, even if it's a little bit, like we know that it's actually a beneficial stimulus. So even if you just get a little bit in, a few more pushes, a few more sets for muscle gain, you know, you could do a total body or split it up, lower on the one day on the Christmas Eve, upper on the next day on the Christmas day. Some things that you like, but this muscle gain is increasing your metabolism long term. Again, you're not going to get a ton of muscle over a weekend, but it is a little bit of a benefit. And if you're going to do anything rather than cardio, I would recommend you start with strength training. There is a benefit to making sure you're walking enough and being active enough so you have a higher net negative deficit, like most days. Like hit your 10K steps still, but on the day of, the best thing that I think that you can do if you're going to try to find time to do extra things, do more strength, you know. And if you're like, oh man, I'm busy all day, I got to clean this, I got to make this, got to make that. Okay, well, if you can fit it in, I know it's not always realistic, but if you can fit it in, first off, do 10, just put a clock on for 10 minutes and do as many body weight squats or push-ups as you can, and you would have hit a stimulus. Okay. But the one that I always like doing, and I've done this during Christmas before, 500 body weight squats. You get to every single set. I try to get to a point where, you know, I'm really getting that muscle burning. It hurts to do it. And you kind of spread that out over the course of an hour or 2 hours. Maybe you just do it over the whole day, but you just keep track. Okay, I did 50 there. I did 50 there. I did 40 there, because it's going to start getting harder and harder. And then at the end of the day, you're cleaning your house, you're getting the kitchen going and all that stuff. Wow, I did 500 squats. And then preparing dinner, you're good for dinner with everyone. You're like, you know what? I feel those legs. I think this meal is going towards something. That's what you want to accomplish with whatever you're doing with your trainings. But I would just increase at least one more set for whatever you're doing on those days, and it's going to help you. It doesn't even have to inherently be on that day, but maybe later in the week, if let's say you're working on the Friday, Saturday, or on the Thursday, Friday, I would just encourage a little bit more sets near failure for that week. This is actually really important too. Events around the events are more threatening to you, actually, because it's insidious calories. They're probably already happening to you right now. I know my girlfriend just had a bake off today, and she's got a whole plate of cookies right in front of her. It's like these are the things that are actually a bigger issue because they're insidiously adding up throughout the weeks and after it. So to prevent yourself from the pendulum swing mindset, this is a really important thing. Is like when you're thinking about right after an event, right after you're doing something. Okay, so you just had Christmas dinner, you had a staff or anything like that. The day after, when you have these leftovers, you have things around, actually do a whole food day. Nothing but whole foods for a whole day. You need one good day of just eating whole foods, and just you're gonna feel almost like this pull towards carbs and cookies. Oh, there's a cookie there, there's a cookie there. And they're gonna be around, they're physically viewing around, right? All these leftovers. Okay, one day of not giving into that instinct and going back to the old routine. Don't even worry about having a deficit on the first day back. Actually, just have whole foods to satiety near maintenance. And it takes like one day, and you'll be like, okay, I'm actually fine with this food. And then maybe 1 or 2 days later, then you can start having and fitting those into your calorie equation. You can still be in a deficit on the Tuesday or on the Wednesday, have a cookie, have a appetizer that's left over, right? But really important that between the events, leading up to the events, you again try to be accountable to some of these foods that are adding up. And there's the why the F not zone, which is between Christmas and New Year's. We all like to start things on a Monday or on a New Year. Very important that we're starting to ease into these deficits. You don't have to just be on the Monday, I'm in a deficit. I know how to do that, but a lot of people need to evolve their calories. So that's that whole food evolution, meaning 99% whole foods the first day. Then you can evolve it down to even being fewer calories into more of a calorie deficit. Whole foods again, maybe with a little bit of a treat, but the between Christmas and New Year's is really important to already kickstart your hit the ground running in the New Year's, right? You can still fit in those leftovers as you're going through it. And that is it. That is all the advice I have for you for this year for your New Year's. I again, I got to say, I love Christmas. I hope you enjoy your Christmas. I hope you have fun with it. It should be fun. I hope you enjoy the right amount. I want you to really take this mindset. It's not the maximal amount of pleasure. it is the perfect amount of enjoyment. Okay. Because enjoyment is super relative. What makes you happy? What makes you feel like, wow, that was a wonderful experience before, during, and after? It's not maximum pleasure, right? And I used to think it was maximum pleasure. That made me a lazy kid. I always wanted to watch TV and eat food. Now I realized, wow, I actually had no reward after that because it was just this dopamine dump. It was immediate gratification. If we find the right amount of happiness, and that's relative, that's for you to find out. That is your quest. That is your challenge. So try to find out, how can I have the right amount where I got to enjoy all the different foods. I got to enjoy my family. Be present with your family. When you're getting really worried about the food, start getting more involved with the conversation, because that's why you're there, right? Hopefully you enjoy your family. And when you're really able to come away from that and feel like, yeah, I was full, but I didn't like hate myself after. I didn't feel like so awkwardly full. And you're able to say, wow, what a great experience. That's when you nailed it. And that's an art form, because you have a lot of emotions to be able to control and to navigate. So I really want you to enjoy this holiday season. I really hope that you're able to have fun. I hope that everyone in your family is super well. I hope you get what you asked for Christmas from Santa. I hope he's very generous from you. And if you don't believe in Santa, whoever gives you stuff, I hope they give you stuff. And folks, enjoy your holiday season. Thank you for joining me today. All the best, and I'll see you in the new year.